Yeah, I call it the day we were supposed to die, and one of these days, maybe I think we've talked about it off camera, but I think that it would be a great kind of apocalypse now, based, quote unquote, based on a true story.
Yeah.
But yeah, the day we were supposed to die it was the day that we rode motorcycles through what we called the hot gates, in northern Afghanistan, and yeah, so there was, my last deployment, I was on a team that was doing the village stability operations.
Yeah.
And, working with locals to basically create their own security force to manage their own, AO. We kind of went back to what some of your brethren and special forces did early on in Afghanistan, like the whole 12 Strong movie.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of working with the locals to fight, and so that's what we were doing. We had a 300 something man, little surrogate force, and and a few Marine Raiders, and so we had done really well. And multiple teams have been in this area, kind of cultivating these relationships and establishing this safe space in this district. And so the higher being higher, we're like, well, if you guys have done so well, let's do better. Let's push it out there and let's just keep going. But they, at the time, they didn't want to allocate any more money. They didn't want to allocate any more guns. They didn't want to allocate any more support. They just wanted us to do with what we had.
Right. Figure it out.
So if you can imagine the hot gates, like everybody knows, like the 300, the hot gates, there was a place in Afghanistan that looked very similar to that. You had a river on one side, then you had the mountain that came down and met the river. And on the other side, you had the mountain that came down and met a trail as well. And that trail was about good enough for like a side-by-side and a motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had, good reporting that trail that was for the motorcycle and for the side-by-side had IEDs on it. But we had a good belief that, the motorcycles were light enough that they probably wouldn't trigger the IED. So it was safe enough. You know what I mean?
Don't worry about the remote detonations theory.
Right. So, and then there's a village on the other side of this choke point that we were supposed to go work with. And my whole thing was like, hey, what do we have to offer this village? Well, nothing. We're just going to go talk to them. So you're going to take all of our people and put them through this choke point so that we can just go talk to these people and offer and talk to them about security and say, we have nothing to offer you. Cool. Okay. That sounds like a great plan. So we go down there, we stage, cloud cover rolls in, it's low cloud cover, so we've got no real support there. We've got some mortar tubes set up, but they're above the clouds. So in my mind, it's like no-go criteria, right? It's like, This is done. Like we pack up and head home. Somebody gets hurt, who knows what's going to happen. No, that's not at all. No, that's not what we're going to do.
Your Marines.
We're going to push. We're going to push the fight, Clint. To ease everybody's heart, nobody gets hurt here. So this is otherwise I probably would be telling this story. So nobody gets hurt. Everybody came home. But so we get to, we're staged. So everybody knows that we're there, right? Yeah. It's broad daylight. We're on motorcycles. We've got a huge force staged at the foot of this of the hot gates here, and we're ready to push. We're ready to push in there. So the enemy is aware. It's not a secret. So what happened? What do you think happens as soon as we breach that choke point?
Gigs up, right?
Yeah, gigs up. We're going through, and to make it worse, one of my best friends. He drove this. I had a Premier, which we called the Afghan Road King. I'm sure you've rode around on him as well. And he had a Parwaz. And that was the more, I think it had like 25 more cc's or 50 more cc's. I don't remember exactly. Somebody listening will probably know. But it was more like a beefed up mountain bike, or a dirt bike version of it. And mine was like more of like an Afghan Road King. Real light, small, comfortable pegs, and his looked more like almost kind of like a Kawasaki dirt bike.
Right.
But the thing was a complete piece of shit, man. Like shit was falling off of it. It was constantly having problems. I told him to ditch it. He was like, no, it's got skulls and it looks cool and it's blacked out and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, but it's a problem.
Yeah.
So what happens when we breach the hot gates? His battery falls out of its housing and is dragging through the dirt of this small little path where you have a mountain on one side and you have the river on the other side, and we're getting shot at where there's supposed to be IEDs in the dirt, and it's just dragging behind him by the negative cable.
I love
So
it.
of course I stop, pull my gun up, I'm returning fire a little bit. He stops, grabs the battery, puts this battery in his lap. Thank God the bike's still running.
Yeah.
And he puts it in his lap, and we haul ass to the first house, and we clear the first house, and we keep shooting and everything, and that's our entry into the hot gates. And matter of fact, he had a scar. It was the guy I talked about on another podcast. He had a scar. I was shooting M110 SAS suppressed. He was shooting a scar, and he was like, if I'm right here, he was like a foot to my left. And I remember shooting across this river, and I stop and I look at him, and I'm like,
oh yeah, sure.
I look at him and I'm like, get the fuck away from me.
Dumping all his brass on you. Yeah.
I mean, that thing is, if you've ever had a scar heavy shoot next to you unsuppressed, it is so freaking loud. And I'm over here with no ear pro with an M110, SAS suppressed, and it's like nothing, right? And anyways, he just laughs and kind of goes down. But there's a lot more to that. But that was probably out of all the stupid things that I've done, that was probably one of the hairiest ones that we've done, and live to tell about it. So
yeah, no, that's good. I like the hot gate scenario. People should know 300, but if you don't, it's Spartans. They basically leverage that strategy of you can take on thousands if you just force the thousands to come through a funnel. Now you're evening the force, right? So that's a great tactic.
I said that when we were there. I was like, I think this is in every basic private first class tactical manual of a no-no.
Right.
It's the first thing. Avoid a choke point. I think that we got taught that somewhere 15 years ago, but whatever.
Yeah, the question is are we the Spartans or are we the 1,000 idiots that are about to go through this thing?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. All right.